everybody. There's a Facebook friend of mine that had just wrote something about pet peeves, her pet peeve of the day. And it made me think about pet peeves. And I actually did a video, I think maybe about 2 years ago, on pet peeves. And it's in YouTube. My YouTube videos for you Facebook friends of mine. You can go to YouTube/Cindy Lester in my videos, and you can find it there. But I talked about pet peeves, and I also went online a while ago and was looking at pet peeves, and they had over 500 pet peeves, and a lot of them were just ridiculous and just didn't make very much sense, but I won't talk about those. Everybody's got a pet peeve. Everybody. And some people have more than one. Some of my pet peeves are, I guess my worst one is somebody chewing and snapping gum. I cannot take that. I cannot take just somebody just, To me, that's disrespectful. Don't do that. Nobody wants to hear that mess. And it's just, it's so unnerving that I literally cannot stand it. I know me and Joe went to bingo, well, back several years ago when we would go sometime, and there would be there was a woman that would come in there sometimes and just sit and chew gum, and I just couldn't take it, so I literally bought the little earplugs and put them in my ears, you know, when she chewed gum. We went to vote the last time that Bush was reelected. We had gone to vote. And when we got over there that morning, you know, the line was pretty short, so it wouldn't have took us very long to vote. But a woman walked right up behind me, and she was standing there and just snapping that gum. And I told Joe, I said, I cannot do this. I cannot stand here and listen to this. So he said, well, let's just walk away, Mom, walk away. So we walked away and we went to the car and we waited for about maybe 10 minutes. Long enough, you know, for the line to build up behind her. And it built up behind her all right. And by the time we got back over there, the line was real long and we had to stand and wait for a couple of hours. But that was okay. That's better than having somebody around me snapping gum. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard. Another pet peeve of mine is traffic. Now, my kids always tell me I'm going to get shot in traffic one day. Can't stand stupid drivers. And what irritates me the most is I'm driving along, and I'm driving up the street, and there's somebody over here, like coming out either a side street or a parking lot, and they're just sitting there until you get almost right up on them, then they start drifting out. Like, they can't wait for me to get by. You don't know whether they see you, whether they're going to pull out in front of you. You got to... That just gets on my last nerve. And then I'll end up cussing somebody out or flagging my hands up, you know, like I'm in New York or whatever. And the kids say, Mom, one of these days you're going to get yourself shot. So, but I'm real bad when it comes to traffic. And people who don't use coasters. I don't understand not using a coaster when you set your drink down. I don't understand. I don't care what you're drinking out of a can, a cup, or whatever. I even use a coaster when I set my when I'm drinking my latte. So, you know, it's not there's no ice forming on the outside of it, and it's not going to leave a ring. But I still use a coaster because I gotta have a coaster. Another thing that bugs me is if you're watching a TV show and it's really bad on some soaps, really bad on some of the soaps sometimes, where somebody has on so much jewelry that's constantly clanking and making this noise, and that reminds me of somebody snapping gum. It just bugs me. Loud jewelry. I love jewelry, but please. And another big pet peeve I have is an unmade bed. I cannot take an unmade bed. The bed, if my whole house can be spotless, but if my bed is not made up, then my house does not feel clean. And when I get up My bed has to be the first thing. I got to make the bed before I shower and go to work. The bed's got to be made. And so, another thing, and well, this is not my pet peeve, but somebody was had listed this on there about that their pet peeve is people who don't dress their age. Well, that kind of irritates me for somebody to say that, because what does dress your age mean? I think, and some people will say, well, you don't dress like a grandmother. You don't dress like a mom. You know, what does a grandmother and a mom dress like? This is not back in the days where if you were over 45, you wore the spandex pants and a smock top. I think that, now mini skirts are out. No mini skirts. Aside from the mini skirt thing, which nobody should even wear a mini skirt. But anyway, I think that you can dress any way you want to. You should be able to wear whatever you want to, and it would look good on you depending on how you carry yourself, depending on how your body looks and how you present yourself. For example, if you're a big woman, don't go buy these skin-tight clothes that you're going to have to pour yourself into and it's going to show every single roll. That's not attractive. Buy something that's going to fit you. You know, don't buy something 2 sizes too small just to say, I wear a 10 instead of I wear a 14. Or whatever the case may be. And another thing that really gets on my nerves and it's just so irritating is when you go to the store and, you know, I rarely ever pay with cash. Rarely ever pay with cash. And I rarely ever carry any on me more than, I never carry more than 20 at a time, but you pay with debit. And then sometimes, you know, if you're going to get some cash back or if they give you some change back, and they'll take your money and your receipt and roll it up and hand it to you. I don't like that, because right then I like to put my money in my wallet, snap it closed, put my wallet in my bag, then take the receipt. But they roll it up, and then I got to take that, and then I got to move ahead, then I got to separate it, and then it's just irritating. That's just me. And another thing is fingerprints. Oh God, I cannot stand fingerprints on glass or on a screen. I'm a freak when it comes to fingerprints. And at the bank that I bank at the Bank of America. And now early in the mornings, if I go do my business with Bank of America early in the mornings, you can't really see any fingerprints on the screen. But if I don't go till the evening times, and the way the sun is shining on it, you can see every single fingerprint on that screen. And it just makes me want to just start wiping it off. And I know me and my daughter was there one day, and she was doing some business through the ATM. And I'm kind of standing there, and I'm looking at the screen, and then I look away, and then I look at the screen. And I took my, I had a little tissue in my pocket. I took it, and I started doing like that on the screen. She's like, Mom, don't touch the screen while I'm making a transaction. I said, oh. Sorry, but I can't stand for visible fingerprints. That's irritating. And now to a story I've been wanting to tell for some time, and I had just kept forgetting to tell it. Unexpected company. I do not like unexpected company. I think you should at least give a courtesy call. But anyway, when my husband was alive, there used to be a man that would come here to the house. His name was Mike. And he would come and cut our grass. My husband kind of felt sorry for him. And so he let Mike come once a week and cut our grass, and he would pay him to cut it. Well, then Mike started making a pest of himself, and he started coming down more than just the once a week to cut the grass. And he would just show up sometime, you know, and come in and just act like he was just going to hang out and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't like the man. It was no secret I did not like the man. And, you know, he was in the kitchen one day, and I came in there, and I asked him. I said, I'd like to cook supper. I said, are you ever going to leave? And so my husband said, well, she don't like anybody in the kitchen when she's cooking. And so the guy was like, well, I can go to the living room. I said, why don't you just go home? you know. And then Mike just, he smiled and he looked at my husband and he said, boy, she sure is pretty when she gets mad, ain't she? I said, well, I'm about to become damn beautiful on your ass. Now go home. And he just laughed. He thought it was funny. So finally my husband told him, I think you better leave. So, you know, after that, he would just come around every now and then. That wasn't too bad. But then it got to where every day, my husband would always get home from work before me. My husband would always get home like 10 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't get home after 3 in the evening. And so I would come home, and there Mike would be. This one particular week, he was here every single day. And I kept telling him, you need to go, you need to go. So then he would always wait until my husband would tell him, well, Mike, I think it's time for you to go. Then he would leave. So one night, it was on a Friday night, I told my husband, I said, look, and I put a sign on the door. I took this piece of paper and a black magic marker, and I wrote in big letters, do not disturb, and I hung it on the front door. A little while later, I said, what the hell? So we're sitting here in the living room, and I was closer to the door, so I got up and I went to the door, and there stands Mike. And the first thing I said to him, I pointed to the sign. I said, what, you can't read? And he laughed because he thought it was cute. So then he's going to say, he's looking around in the living room. He said, Ross here? And I just opened the door a little bit, turned around, looked at my husband sitting over there, and I saw my husband, and I turned around and looked at Mike. I said, no. I said, what you want, Mike? Then he laughed like he thought I was going to let him in. And I had to tell him. I said, look, go home. So he left, and the next day, on Saturday, I had to work that Saturday. And so I got up early that morning because I go to work at 6:30. And I got up early that morning, and it was just still so upsetting to me that that man had been in this house all week. And I told my husband, because I would come home on my lunch break, you know, when my husband was alive. And I told my husband, I said, honey, I said, if I come home on my lunch break today and he's here, I said, don't be surprised at anything I might say. I said, because I'm not aiming it to you. I said, but I'm going to have to let him have it, and I'm going to turn around and I'm going back to work because I will not sit in that house, that man in this house. And I was real upset, so I left and I went to work. So at 11 o'clock, when I came home on my lunch break, Ross was in the doorway, and I pull up in the driveway, and I get out and I start towards the house, and I just stopped. And I looked at him. I said, are we alone? And he said, yeah, we're alone. So I come on in the house, and he was like, we are now. And Mike had been here. Sure enough, Mike had been here, but Ross said he told Mike when he showed up at the door, he said, Mike, he said, don't bother sitting down. He said, me and you got to have a talk. He said, when my wife is upset, then that makes me upset. He said, my wife is not real happy with you. Mike said, what you mean? Ross said, Sandy don't like people to just drop in her house. He said she likes courtesy calls. She don't like people just dropping by and hanging around anytime they feel like it. He said Mike plopped down on the couch and looked at him and said, yeah, some people's funny like that, ain't they? So that's when my husband said that he knew he was going to have to hurt that man's feelings to get him out of the house. So he told him, he said, look, Cindy don't like you. She don't want you in this house. He said, and as a matter of fact, you know, you're not my favorite person either, Mike. He said, I've been tolerating you because, you know, I'm not a bad person. He said, but I think it would be in your best interest and my best interest if you were not here when she got home on her lunch break. And he said it would be in everybody's best interest if you just didn't come back. So he left, and he didn't come back. Well, he came back about maybe about 2 years later. He came back, but this is after my husband had died. He came by, and I told him, I said, well, my husband passed away. So he was kind of real shocked about that. So, but I made him stay outside on the patio, and I talked to him for about 5 minutes, and then He was telling me, if you need anything done, if you need your grass cut, if you need this, if you need that, I said, I got it. I'll take care of Mike. You don't have to come back. And I haven't seen him since. I've seen him out and about on the street, but he's not been here. And Lord God, I rattled on, and look, I hope I don't talk that man up. But I guess he irritated me because he didn't hold a job. He was like in his 30s, 40s maybe, and wouldn't hold a job. I hate a lazy man. There's nothing worse than a lazy man. And I can't tolerate that. Plus, he didn't have a home. He was living from here to there, to here to there. And I think, if he had kept coming by, he was trying to worm his way in here. Because one night he came by and he bought my husband some broccoli from somebody's garden. He said, I told Ross I'd bring him some broccoli. So I took the bag, and he's like, oh, wait a minute, that's a wrong bag. That's my clothes. Here's the broccoli. So what else was he doing coming to my house after dark with a bag of broccoli and a bag of clothes? I think he thought he was going to spend the night. But anyway, what are some of your pet peeves? And that's another one of my pet peeves is the way I say anyway. And I do say that a lot, don't I? I say that a lot. I get on my own nerves saying that. And another thing that gets on my nerves is the president, Obama, and his wife. The way that they can't get through a full sentence without saying, they're always saying, I can't stand it. It makes me crazy. However, but anyway, I had to throw that in one more time. Anyway, what are some of your pet peeves? Either write them down, or I'd love to have a video response from you on YouTube or on Facebook. And until next time, bye-bye.